All right, everyone. So we will go ahead and get started. Welcome to our panel day 2 of Meet the Firms. Today, the topic is understanding the differing service lines. So talking through tax, audit, advisory, and really the goal here is just to help the students figure it out. I know when I went through this program, that was probably one of the most difficult decisions that you have to make, and you make it pretty early on in your accounting major, I guess, path. So any advice that you guys can give would be great. For the students who are on, I just want to give you kind of an overall view of how today's going to go. So we have about 6 or 7 questions that we've pre-assigned to the panelists. Assuming there's time at the end, we will open it for Q&A. So if there's something or a topic that's brought up during the panel discussion and you have an additional question on it, jot it down and ask the panelists at the end. Okay, so today we have a good amount of panelists. So for my panelists, if you will just introduce yourself and your firm, you can go based off of the order here. So Jill, if you want to kick us off, that would be great. Jill, are you on the call?
I'm sorry, I was muted.
Oh, I was trying to figure out if it was me that was muted and you guys had not heard any of my spiel or what. So
Sorry, no, I hear you loud and clear. Thanks. Sorry about that. So I said, first of all, thanks for having us. We appreciate it. My name's Jill Neese. I'm a tax principal at Culture and Justice, and I've been here about almost 12 years now. Prior to that, I was with McGladrey out of North Carolina. C&J, we've been Culture and Justice since about 1993, and prior to that, we were the EY office of Knoxville. We have about 70 employees, about 30 professionals in tax, 30 professionals in audit. I think we have about 35 CPAs altogether, and we offer the traditional auditing, accounting, assurance, tax services, and then we have some niche offerings like mining and litigation support, employee benefit plans, restaurant hospitality groups. So we get a little bit of exposure to a lot of things. So yeah, that's about it.
So Robert or Nicholas, if one of you guys want to kick it off for KPMG, share who you are and a little bit about your firm.
Okay, I'll go ahead and go. My name's Nick Fabus. I'm a senior audit associate in our Knoxville office. In our Knoxville office, we mostly provide audit services, but we have a few tax and advisory professionals who, for the large part, work remotely. I graduated the MAC at UT in 2018, and before that, I did undergrad at UT. And so that's kind of my background. I primarily work with industrial manufacturing clients in our audit practice as well. So.
And then I'm Robert Ford with KPMG. I graduated from Tennessee in 2006 and have been with KPMG in Atlanta since that time. I'm currently a tax managing director in KPMG's accounting methods and credits practice, which is a group in tax. And we do tax timing items and a lot of the research and development tax credit. And within our Atlanta office, it's one of our biggest offices. KPMG has, a large audit practice and several different tax practices like mergers and acquisitions, a group called Business Tax Services and Economic Valuation Services.
Scott, if you want to introduce
Yep.
yourself. Perfect.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me here today. I'm happy to speak to this group. So my name is Scott Nally. I'm a partner with Craft CPAs in Nashville. I work in the risk assurance and advisory services practice. I have more than 15 years of audit experience, both financial audit, internal audit, IT audit, and a variety of risk and compliance type work. I'm a certified public accountant, certified internal auditor, certified information systems auditor, and have a variety of other compliance and risk certifications. Craft CPAs is a full service CPA firm in Nashville. We have more than 200 employees, and we offer audit, tax, risk advisory, bookkeeping, and other accounting type services. We also have a variety of affiliates that provide a variety of niche type services such as financial planning, IT managed services, and a whole host of other things. Over my years, I've got to meet a lot of the students from UT, and I think they have a great program, and I think you guys are going to offer a lot to the industry once you get to working in the field.
Good afternoon, everyone. Do want to say a big thank you to the department for putting this on. My name is Farhan. I am a senior audit associate here at LBMC. I work in the Nashville office. I graduated from UT, my bachelor's in 17 and my MAC in 18. I was in your shoes not too long ago. LBMC, we're the largest professional services firm based out of Tennessee with over 600 professionals. We offer a wide variety of services, including audit, tax, and risk services. We have offices located in Nashville, Knoxville, and Chattanooga. And here at LMC, we really simply want to help organizations be the best version of themselves. And we do that by building meaningful and genuine relationships and providing impactful client service. But of course, all of that for us starts with the fact that we invest and take genuine interest in the development of our people.
Good afternoon. I'm Alan Webb, UTK class of '89, go Vols. I was actually just over there a couple of weeks ago. We were moving in our youngest into South Carrick. A lot of great memories over there. I've been a CPA in public accounting since 1994. A partner with Price CPAs, which is located in Nashville. Our firm has been in existence for a little over 60 years. Our client base consists of privately held businesses, their owners, and other high net worth individuals. We typically work with companies all sizes, from startups to in excess of 1 billion. Our typical client has annual revenue somewhere between 5 and 50 million. We have approximately 25 professionals in our office, and we perform all traditional CPA firm services plus consulting, valuation, and family office.
How you doing? I'm Keith O'Connor with Pew CPAs, one of our audit partners. I've been with the firm roughly 10 years. Graduated from UT in 2008. I actually double majored, so I didn't do the MAC route. So I double majored in marketing and accounting. Interned with Pew and really never looked back. Just offers a really good opportunity here in Knoxville. We've been around in the community for over 50 years, and we specialize in audit and tax services. We also have some business valuation litigation support, as well as some IT consulting. We're definitely looking to growing each and every day. So willing to take on as many interns and full-time as we can, foresee it. So happy to talk with you guys today, and hopefully can meet some good people.
Hey guys, I'm Ashley Kirkland. I am a consultant at S3 Consulting. I work with Johanna, who's going to introduce herself in just a second. I got my undergrad and master's from Tennessee. I got my master's in 2017, I think. and then went to work at PwC for a little while and did the audit practice there for 2 years, and then transferred out and now work at S3. And we are a boutique consulting company, and I will let Joe talk a little bit more about how we got started and what all we do.
Hello, and I'm batting cleanup, I guess, as I'm the last one on this list. Johanna Baum. I also graduated the MAC undergrad and grad, not so recently, but started the firm 15 years ago. And I also kind of worked my way through several different service lines. So I worked in tax, audit, consulting, and that was for Coopers and Lybrand before they turned into PwC. I worked at E&Y, Capgemini, EY, and then ultimately Cap before I started S3, like I said, 15 years ago. So I'm definitely the non-traditional route, and Ashley and I, really represent the non-traditional approach to, coming out with an accounting degree, and, really where do you go from there? What kind of skills, you need to get into more consulting, security, data management, information management, identity and access management, security, all of those can really fold into the foundation that you get from an accounting degree. So we're really looking from that angle to provide some perspective for you guys today.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for introducing yourself, and thanks again for being here today. So with that, we will start on our first question. So question 1 is for KPMG and Culture and Justice. And the question is, how did you personally determine what service line was right for you? Did you figure this out in college, during an internship, or when?
I'll kick us off then. I was lucky enough to have early experience in both lines. And for me, really, it was more of a personality thing, a personality fit with tax. I enjoyed audit, and I enjoyed the variety of being in different places. But I really struggled with the sample. I wanted to see just one more thing, and I was an over auditor. But with tax, I felt more structured. I had codes and forms with instructions and formulas to use to arrive at a pretty solid answer. And not to knock auditing at all. Again, I enjoyed it. But I also feel that tax sometimes may be a little bit more rewarding. I think in some of my early audit experience, I wanted the client to be so wowed by this presentation of financial statements, but they already kind of knew what it was going to look like. But with their taxes, I found they were very much more interested in how much tax they were going to owe or how much tax they were going to get back. So I think, too, you have an opportunity to be more involved in the details of important transactions and planning and consulting throughout the year, where you really, really build the value of what you can provide, that guidance you can provide to those clients.
Yeah, so for me, my decision was largely based on my internship experience. I was fortunate enough to be able to intern in the tax and audit practice while I was in school. And both those experiences were really helpful. It allowed me to see if I could kind of picture myself doing either of those. But instead of just basing it upon those experiences, initially you have to decide if you have the opportunity to intern, what practice are you going to intern in. And I had some really helpful discussions with professors about their experience whenever they were in public accounting, just trying to get a good idea what your day-to-day experience is going to be like. Because even as an intern, you're going to get to see what it's like, but if you're not interning during busy season, for example, you're going to be missing a big portion of what it's going to be like to actually work in tax or audit. And I can't really speak to advisory, but I think that Another thing that was really helpful for me was discussions that I had with professionals in those lines when I was going through the recruiting process. I would just try and ask them like what their day was like and how they spent it and how they ended up making their decision and what like their favorite things about their job was. And then trying to envision like if I could see myself doing that in my like day-to-day life too. So I ended up going with audit, and some of the things that kind of like led me to choose audit was I liked how it felt really like team-based. We typically in audit will work like in an audit room as a team. And a lot of the time we'll be working like at our client's location, like wherever their offices are located, so that we can have a lot of face-to-face conversations with our clients. And also like as a team, it's helpful to be able to just talk things through in person. And obviously that looks a lot different right now. But that was really attractive to me because I'm kind of a more like social person, and I kind of think I kind of learn better in a team setting. And I also like being able to coach others in a team setting too, like in person, and have like my team with me. So that's been really great in audit for me. And then also a really cool opportunity that KPMG has is a build your own internship program now. So you could potentially be able to intern in both audit or tax or advisory, which will allow you to experience both in one internship. And I think that's something that's really cool that we offer.
That's great. Thank you both. So question 2 is for LBMC and Pew CPAs. And the question is, are there any tips you have for students as they are figuring out what service line might be a good fit for them?
I don't mind to kick this one off for us. Like I said, I'm Keith O'Connor with Pew CPAs. I think, kind of echoing some of Nick's comments, I think keeping up to date with recruiters and professionals that you meet along the way, internships primarily, number one, in my opinion. I think I did 3 different internships before I realized, what exactly I wanted to do. Auditing was kind of one of these things I'd always heard about that was like, okay, well, if you like getting out and about and talking to people, then auditing's kind of for you. Or if you would like to be kind of more at the office, at the desk, more routine based, I think that's more your tax fit. So I was trying to find something more geared in the audit and advisory role. So Pew CPAs kind of offered that for me. And, just trying to figure out, what firm fits your, expectations. So, are you willing to travel a lot, or, are you want to stay local, or, I think various different firms, different industry types, big fours, regional, small private, they're all going to offer different things. So just, kind of know in your mind, like what you're looking for. And, for me, it was more just, I wanted to stay local. I'm from Knoxville. I have a family here, finding that firm that's got that perfect work-life balance. And, various internships that I had, that led me to Pew. Pew just kind of gave me more of that, I feel like I'm getting a job and I'm getting rewarded, but I'm also being rewarded by getting to go home and see my family. So to me, that was most important throughout this process, and then for some people that might be different. So I just think, figuring out what you want and, doing your internships and, asking questions, staying through, having a mentor at UT. I think Dr. Kiger was my mentor. He's long retired, but he was always kind of the liaison at UT for, finding firms for us, connecting us with the professionals that would give us the best advice. And, and so I reached out to some of those people. I was offered opportunities to come in and do office visits kind of off the record. Doesn't have to always be through handshake and all that stuff. You can reach out to us through our firm website, emails, contact information, just ask questions. That's kind of my overall view of, tips and tricks kind of to stay in tune with this process.
Yeah, I think, for me, I think there's really 2 pieces of advice that I would offer. And one of them, Keith kind of mentioned, And that's that we have a great number of people in the accounting department, some wonderful people as faculty, and don't be afraid to utilize them. You know, for me, I remember when I did my first audit internship, I did an internal audit internship, and I didn't really like it. And I went and sat down with Dr. Cunningham, picked her brain on, you know, what was her experience in external audit. And I was considering tax. So I sat down with Dr. Murphy and Dr. Ches and sat in Dr. Fuller's office, asked him questions about risk. And they were all incredibly helpful and provided some really good guidance that eventually landed me at LBMC. And so I would really encourage everyone to use the faculty as a resource. They're there to help you, and they're happy to do so. And then the other thing that I think is really important is, you know, I would advise that as you go and gain as much exposure as you can to as many firms, and kind of pay attention to your interactions and observe, you know, which firms do you have the best conversations with, do you feel most comfortable with, and enjoyed interactions with those people. And as you're able to identify that, you know, try to meet as many people at those firms as possible and in different service lines. You know, if you come to meet firms and you and I have a great conversation, and you enjoy talking to me, then, you know, meet as many people as you can at LBMC's tax service line, advisory service line, audit. And then in those groups, I think you can kind of, you know, get an idea of which group do you get along with the most, does your personality align with the most? Because I think at the end of the day, you know, regardless of what service line you choose, we're all, you know, going to be at some point feeling stressed out and working a lot of hours. I think it's important that when you are in that situation, you work with people that you feel genuinely connected to and can get along with and sit in a room for a long amount of time. And, you know, it's not very, very stressful.
Thank you, guys. Okay, so the next question is for Craft and S3 Consulting. So what does the advisory service line look like day to day, busy season? Anything you want to share that will give the students kind of an idea of what they could expect in advisory?
So for us at Craft, our advisory services include things like internal audit, IT audit, network and cybersecurity assessments, and a variety of other things that I lump into a category that I just call risk and compliance. So in the healthcare industry, we might be doing HIPAA risk analysis or assessing compliance and HIPAA against the HIPAA requirements. A lot of what we do day to day is pretty similar to what you'll find in a traditional audit practice, where we are working with our clients, we're working in teams, evaluating documentation. We might be traveling to a client, we might be working in the office. So what you think of an audit department is a lot of what we're doing. Although we have a lot more engagement with the client to understand what their needs are and to try to develop a program or a service that fits their needs. So a lot of times we aren't delivering a canned package of this is the audit that we're doing and this is the results you're going to get. We have to listen to what their needs are and then design something to fit those needs. And so when I tell people what type of person are we looking for to hire in our group, we're looking for people that I call consultants. Somebody that can listen to the client's needs and turn a non-standard request into something that's meaningful for the client. In regard to busy season, so in our group, we don't have a busy season per se. We certainly don't have the traditional accounting firm busy season where you expect January through April, you're working 60, 70-hour weeks. What I find with our group is we're able to space our work out throughout the year. So we stay pretty busy consistently throughout the year with very few peaks and valleys. It all stays pretty consistent, but we have that same public accounting style where we stay pretty busy year round.
So I would piggyback off of that and say that for me, we don't really necessarily do advisory, I wouldn't say. I'd say it's much more a consulting role. I work alongside clients. That's what I do day in and day out. Normally when there's not COVID, there's travel to client sites. We're based in Atlanta, so we can work from Atlanta or work from wherever, which is very nice. I would say my typical day-to-day can change. So again, prior to COVID, sometimes we would be going to industry conferences, or we would be going to seminars with some of our business partners to learn about their technology and their platforms that we might be implementing at some of our clients, or maybe we were going to be implementing them in the future. So we were learning about it from that standpoint. But then there's also the aspect where we might be on now, it's multiple Zoom calls a day, but normally it's in person, what we call discovery interviews. So we're new to a client and we're coming in and we're trying to get a full grasp on the business's current state and what everything looks like from any angle that we can see it, in order to develop a strategy going forward and also give them a technical roadmap. So that can be anything from meeting with the CIO to meeting with the internal audit department to meeting with the technology department, anything of that sort, and asking them normally pretty open-ended questions. So I think that when you look at it from, when I compare it to my experience in audit on a public global client, I was typically trying to pinpoint something that I already knew the answer to, or I knew what I wanted the answer to be. And my job now is much more open-ended and hearing what the client says and trying to gauge where we go from there and piecing all of the different feedback that we get into one tangible roadmap going forward.
Thank you both. So for question 4, it is for Price CPAs and KPMG. And my question is, what does the tax service line look like day to day, busy season, all that good stuff?
I'll go ahead. Because our clients are typically, our business clients are privately held, mostly pass-through entities. We have constant ongoing communications with them, with the owners, with the clients, really on a personal level. All sorts of things as you would imagine. But it includes estimating, planning, updating for events or changes, preparation for of the returns. Of course, that goes on throughout the year. We have a lot of extensions, a lot of extended returns, so that's ongoing. Potential pending transactions could be a buy-sell, where we're performing advisory consulting, helping them negotiate, looking at the deal structure for tax efficiency, maybe estimating the net proceeds. A lot of research, dealing with federal or state notices, helping those to be resolved. From a staff standpoint, our staff have annual production budget based on hours. They also have non-chargeable targets for things we deem important, like charitable, community involvement, business development, of course, continuing education. Our tax season hours, standard hours for us are about 55 hours a week. It's certainly flexible, but it typically looks like 4 10s and 2 8s. Again, we're flexible with that as long as the work's getting done. Non-tax season, standard hour, standard 40 hours, half-day Fridays in the summer, 1 remote work day per week. We have core hours of 9 to 4 with flexibility there. So, we understand that people have families and when they want to manage their commute time or being at events, getting their children to school. We have almost all local area clients, so we rarely have overnight travel. Paperless, we are paperless with all the technology that allows our staff and everyone to be able to work remotely, which was really good that we had that in place pre-COVID. I don't know what we would have done if we hadn't, but anyway, that's about it.
All right, thank you. So from my perspective, I'm in a specialty tax practice at KPMG called Accounting Methods and Credits. And so we prepare 2 or 3 tax forms. I do the accounting period tax form, I do accounting method changes, and I do the R&D credit tax form, which are all, the R&D credit's pretty simple after you calculate the numbers. But so really what I'm doing is project work. And so I can divide my projects up into 2 different categories. I work on compliance projects. So right now there's some new laws. There's tax inventory cost accounting. And so I'm doing a lot of work with that right now. I've got 50 or 60 projects that I'm implementing and helping my clients with. And then I also do projects related to opportunities. And so we'll identify a client that could be eligible for the R&D credit and help them to claim that, or maybe we find a way that our client can claim some deductions. And so we have to, do some analysis in order for them to claim that. One thing that I normally do day to day would be, we do a lot of site visits. And I enjoy doing them because we go in and we see the research that our client's doing, or I could be looking at their different assets. I could be doing factory tours and showing us how their factories work. And so, I enjoy seeing how these big pieces of machinery work and how everything ties together and how everything's made. For the inventory cost accounting, we learn a lot about our clients' supply chains, which I also think is very interesting. Right now, though, we're doing a lot of virtual meetings. This past week, I had a very interesting meeting. We were doing a construction tax planning for a client, and we were looking at their factory, and they had a 3D rendering of the factory where they gave us a tour, basically, of a 3D model. And they took us from the start of their production process through the end of the production process in this factory that we're helping them to, so that the costs are the most tax efficient that they can be. And we're looking at a couple tax credits for it as well. So, those are things that I do day to day. We do get busier towards busy season because we support, our clients have to implement these new regulations. And so as the tax returns come due, more of the clients are reaching out to us, more of the rest of KPMG's teams are reaching out to us. And so my teams are getting together to support that. And so we are, similar to other accounting firms, we try to work around 55 hours a week during busy season. And then, we're pretty steady during the year, but, we're not as busy during non-busy season hours. So that's, pretty much what I do day to day.
Perfect. Thanks, Alan and Robert. So our next question, I can get it to go, is for Culture and Justice and LBMC. What does the audit service line look like day to day, busy season, etc.?
Yeah, I can go ahead and kick us off on this one. I think it's very different, really every day. But I'll try to touch on, as much as I can. I think a lot of it depends on, what part of the audit engagement you're working on. For instance, if I'm planning an engagement, I could be getting on the phone with the client and coordinating the timing of field work, and catching up with them since the last time we talked. For instance, this year, a big topic of discussion is the PPP loans. And for those of you who don't know, these are the COVID relief loans that the government put out there, and could be having discussions with the whole engagement team, whether it's the manager and the partner, to make sure we're adequately scheduled for, the engagement team is scheduled for. Or if I'm out in the field doing field work, we're typically at the client site, wherever that may be, and so where we do most of the substantive testing. If I run into any unusual findings, I may pop into the CFO's office and have a chat with them to try to get a better understanding of what's going on. And one of my favorite things to do is, during field work, taking out the C-suite for lunch and really try to get to know them. It's, it's a lot easier to work with a client when you build a relationship and they get to know you and you get to know them and about their families. And then in the wrap-up section, where the manager and the partners have taken a look at the work papers, I may try to refine my work and send out any kind of requests to get on a call with the client, for any follow-ups that are needed. During the summers, we do benefit plan audits. Of course, we have a lot of financial statement audits as well, but we do a lot of benefit plan audits. And the summers, there's a lot of flexibility. We do flex Fridays where we only work half a day on Fridays. We have a lot of, quarterly parties and happy hours. And even during busy season, we have a lot of food catered and happy hours. And I always try to make time for that because I think it's really important to be able to stop what you're doing and just the grind, day in and day out, and make some time to give yourself a break and, spend some quality time with your coworkers.
So you may ask, I'm a tax principal, how in the world would I know what audit looks like day to day? So I went to a few folks that are much younger than I and had experience here at UT and asked them to give me their highlights and things that they wanted you guys to hear the most about auditing day to day at C&J. So first, what I took from their comments is it really depends on the client that you're working on, of what your day to day is going to look like. It's going to determine your location, the size of your audit team, the industry, of course, how many different exposures you get to different industries. They really wanted to stress that they really enjoyed the variety of industries we worked in because they did get that learning opportunity there. The clients, I think, become an extension of your work family. It's pretty amazing to see the relationships that have been built just in the time that I've been here, but the relationships that I know of even that extended before C&J became C&J, those are still in place, and that's pretty amazing in my opinion. Your audit team, your engagement team, when I was working in audit, and I feel like this carries over to C&J as well, it reminded me of working in the library studying with your friends in school. You were kind of all there together, working on the same general topic. You might be doing homework from one class you had together, they may be doing the other, but you guys could bounce things off of each other. So the detail of what you're doing every day is going to be different, but the folks that you get to work with sitting around that table in a group collaborative effort, I think is also a big thing they wanted to stress. Right now, they normally work at client sites. Right now, we have some folks that choose to work socially distanced in the office together, and some that are on and off Zoom or Teams all day together. They may set an hour or so and say, okay, we're going to log on. They may not have something particular to talk about, but they're there together for an hour virtually in case somebody has a question that pops up. So they make it work. I think everybody is super glad that paperless was there and implemented before all of this happened. It provided a pretty seamless transition to that alternative work setting, so that's been pretty good. You're going to communicate frequently with your team, sharing tips and tricks. You're going to learn a lot from each other. The time frame for an average engagement may be a couple weeks for us, and you may have 3 to 6 people on your team. Overtime, of course, is a normal thing in public accounting, and especially in busy season. We probably average 250 hours of overtime for the year for our folks. It's fairly flexible, though. Again, I think somebody mentioned, we're not going to say you have to be here at this time and work until this time. You can't go home until this is done. We just know this has to get done within this certain amount of time. and you're free. We want to treat you and respect you as a professional that you are. We trust that you're going to get it done in that time. So you have the flexibility there to make things work for you. Am I forgetting anything? I think that's about it. I'm sure I'll think of something as soon as we pass off to somebody else.
Perfect. Thank you both. So our next question is for Pew CPAs and craft. And the question asks, do you ever see people switch service lines either after an internship or even after starting full-time?
I guess I'll kick this one off again. I definitely have seen this in my career, mostly with our interns. I think as long as you're pretty transparent when you're coming in, I mean, we definitely cater to both parties. You know, if you're interested in both, you haven't figured out exactly what you want to do, we will offer you, you know, both if you're into that. Where I've seen, you know, not necessarily people transferring departments after full-time, but normally with our audit practice, we can see more of a need for picking up some tax folks to help out with us during maybe slower times for them. So generally where I'll see that is with, you know, with some compilations, reviews. Generally we can pick up some of the tax people to kind of help us out with some of the audit stuff and some of the non-attest work, and especially with various things like inventory observations. Very rarely have I seen where we've had audit full-time people just completely switch gears over to tax. Now you got to be careful because you don't want to get too far into one side of the house and then, you know, you decide you don't want to do it after you're full-time and then go to tax, or vice versa, tax going to audit. You know, both are very specialized, and especially when you get kind of intertwined in different industries, you want to be careful, and you know, you might find yourself kind of starting over in your career. So it's definitely good to maybe figure that out on the front end in an internship experience, and you know, figure out what's going to be the best fit for you. And you know, like I said, I definitely don't think, you know, speaking from Pew CPA side, we're not opposed to giving you the experience on both sides of the house. So that's all I've got to say about that.
Yeah, and I agree with Keith. It's not common for people to switch lines of service once they've started full-time at a public accounting firm, at least in my experience. There's certainly examples that I can point to where it has happened, but it's rare. It is definitely more common where you have people that are interns. We really like them at craft. They want to find out if they want to try a different service line. And certainly in those cases, a lot of times we're interested in the person more so than them being in a particular department. And if we like them that much, of course, the first department that they interned with would love to have them. But as a firm, we want to keep that person on board. If we feel they're top talent, then we certainly will give them that opportunity to try an internship in another area. So I would say it's more common in the internship world. However, there are certain examples where it's happened otherwise. We've had somebody join our team from the audit practice. You know, we work in the risk advisory practice. And so I think you see that a lot more so. And in fact, I think there's some firms where you have to work in the audit practice prior to coming into the advisory practice. So the work that we do in advisory is so synonymous to some extent with the type of things foundationally that you learn in an audit practice that it's a little bit easier to move from one area to the other. Myself personally, I've done just about everything that a person could do at a public accounting firm. I worked at a smaller firm in Memphis for a period of time where I was able to do tax work, bookkeeping, audit services. And so I do think that that's one of the benefits of working for a smaller firm is you can get a wide variety of experience in different areas. So I was fortunate to be able to do that. And then I actually spent the first part of my career doing audit work, financial statement audit work. I left craft, went to Vanderbilt University and worked in the internal audit department, and then came back to craft to work in the advisory practice. So a lot of times you'll see people switch service lines when they change between industry and public accounting. I've seen that quite a few times as well. So kind of like Keith was saying, once you're kind of ingrained in a particular service line within the firm, oftentimes it's difficult to change but definitely throughout your career, you'll have different interests. And so you don't have to have everything figured out with that first job that you have, and you have the rest of your career to figure out what you want to do.
Great, thanks Scott and Keith. So our next question, and this is our last question, is for S3 Consulting and Price CPAs. If you could go back to when you were deciding on a service line, what advice would you give to yourself?
So I can go last if Price, if you want to.
Okay, sure. So I began my career in a couple of regional niche firms. So I didn't have to choose a service line. You know, those kinds of firms, it's a core team of people serving the client. You're responsible for all the services. That gives you a really nice, well-rounded experience. But I would say that, you know, if you have an interest or a passion for an area or a service line, I would say go for it. We're always looking for people with that passion. You know, you're naturally going to excel or reach a higher level if you really enjoy something. If you choose a firm or a service line, you don't like it, it doesn't mean you have to leave public accounting. You know, try a different area or firm. I guess over the years, I've seen a lot of people I thought would have been really good, had really good careers, who left public accounting because they had a bad experience. Spoken to classes of students over the years, emphasizing the importance of understanding accounting and being financially literate, whether you do spend your career in public accounting or not. You know, everyone here understands that accounting is the language of business, but you'd be surprised there are a lot of very successful owners, clients we have, who are shockingly financially illiterate. And just as, if not more important, I would say choose the right firm, and with the key factors of being a culture, their reputation, resources, including technology, whether or not they're investing in those, growth and future opportunities for you, and your coworkers as well. These are kinds of people you want to spend time with, time around, be associated with.
From my perspective, I definitely took a different path when it comes to, you know, coming out with, and I was information systems when I was at the MAC. And I did work in tax. I did work in audit and advisory. I moved over to IT. It was more IT support for audit, which was, you know, the ISAS practice back then, and then moved into consulting. So, you know, I'm probably the complete opposite of what everybody has talked about today, because I did, you know, between internships and full-time, kind of weave through, you know, all of these practice lines. I will say, for what advice, you know, would I give to myself? I mean, if I was, you know, back in your shoes again, I mean, I chose mentors very specifically because I was looking for something that they had that I really wanted to learn about. And I used those relationships as much as I could. And for every, you know, particular job that I was holding, I wanted to learn as much as I could from that environment, whether it was the people around me or the work I was doing. So to focus in, you know, on audit and advisory, I enjoyed my time there, but I knew I was just trying to learn and get more of a grasp around the business process. But I knew I had something else I wanted to continue to learn about and move towards consulting. So it wasn't easy. I mean, the relentless pursuit of that goal, that's what my advice would be. If you know you're in a role that you might like, but it's not the end of your journey, learn as much as you can about that position. There's always something that you can learn from that, even if you don't love tax, but you're working in tax. It will give you a great foundation for other areas that you want to continue to work through. Same thing for audit, same for, you know, standard, you know, advisory services, or moving on to consulting. I mean, leverage those relationships, leverage the position that you're in. But if there's something that you find challenging, the people that you like to work with, so you select a firm for the people, mean, make the most out of that scenario, because it will teach you a lot and continue to be a building block for what you do down the line for the rest of your career. Every one of those situations will give you something for the future.
Thank you both. Those are great answers. So with that, we are done. So thank you all for participating in this. Students, I hope that you got some questions answered. We do have about 8 minutes or so. So if you came up with any questions as you're listening to the panelists talk, feel free to either unmute yourself and ask it, or I can monitor the chat and you can just post it in the chat. But thank you again to the panelists for answering those questions that we had prepared. And students, now's the time, so ask away.
Yeah, I have a question. How do the client interactions differ between the different service lines, like frequency and stuff?
I think for tax, our auditors first have been more affected, I believe, by these remote work arrangements, because they were used to being out in the field and face-to-face with our clients, our audit clients. And I think they have maybe had more interaction than they thought they would in a remote setting, because it's gone further than just saying, hey, can you send me these electronic documents? They're now actually teaching them and helping them train how to send these documents back and forth and these large, files and things, to where I don't think it's been as disconnected as they thought it would be. With tax, it's been kind of funny, because a lot of our clients don't even know we're working at home, because most of the time in tax, we work remotely in our offices. We get things electronically. We deliver things electronically. So it's been fairly seamless. I think for us as a tax department, we really make those intentional connections by trying to get out with our clients, trying to visit them. So we really try to take advantage of those face-to-face lunches or events and CPEs in a normal time. And we really look forward to that. I mean, hopefully next year. But, seeing them on Zoom this summer, year-end planning will likely be virtual this year. So I think everybody has become more consistent in their client interactions, virtual now. But yeah, it varies from audit to tax. Audit usually being more face-to-face than our tax department.
Thank you.
So we have a question in the chat. Do auditors tend to travel less as they progress in their careers, or does it stay the same?
Yeah, I think, for me personally, I travel a little bit less now than I did when I first started. But I think, traveling is a good subject in audit, because there's always questions around it, especially from students. And if I can tell you one thing, I encourage you to, if you choose a firm and you start working there, and if you want to travel more, I would encourage you to have the discussion, whether you're staff, senior, or manager. At LBMC, they've always encouraged us to speak up, and I wanted less travel as I played more into a senior role. And so, I had that discussion, and I got taken off some of the travel clients. Now, I had a really good time traveling with my team. That was a personal decision. But, I would encourage you to just have a discussion and, let your preferences be known. I think that's really important.
Anyone else have questions? We probably got time for one or two more.
I don't really have a question. I just wanted to thank you all for this. This is amazing. It was such a great learning experience. I took like 2 pages of notes this whole time. So thank you all so much.
Thank you.
It is a pretty impressive setup. So good job to Rachel and your group. This has been creative for sure.
We're trying. Thank you.
And Rachel, if anybody has follow-up questions outside of this venue, and I know they can reach out to us, through the formal channel, but I mean, if you send out at least our contact information, they can either connect on, email, LinkedIn, however they want to reach out if they have individual topics they want to cover with us.
Perfect.
I'd be happy to do that. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else have a question? Otherwise, we will stop it here. All right. Well, thank you all so much. Again, this was beyond helpful. I wish there would have been something like this when I went through, but we appreciate you guys taking an hour out of your day to really talk to our students and help them in this journey of figuring out their accounting career path. So we really appreciate it, and we appreciate your continued support of UT. We couldn't do what we do without you guys, so thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rachel.
Thank you.
Thank you.